So, oh, so that's ambal tambo. Trust the leisure and church in any young to go to ins.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Says Geshe. Let's begin. Let's begin the class.
No, so Kanata and did some day. Do you didn't go on a do you didn't key carriage at the motivation? Do you didn't on a trim down? Think the Japan need to turn so that the long term jigdog in a chinchimalo per tumbi, almost trim tower change. Tetar chitam takna simla dongwa tang gyoba meper njurla asasha te mena ani lu pa yangwa shintib jangba tobla tela teni ani simji gabden perishi di in tui sim tsirchi da nebar njurwi naasi ani duwi denu ji chitam tang tingin zenyi dhubar che sasha ta tiga chik dodo karasungu du sewa duy denu doagi duy denu say denu sumganan duy denu ga ani ola so ta chitum da tingi zingi dupchur gare re say go ti kortere shas ti gare re si di ani duy denu nala ani langchan dire ani chu lenggoya so lapcha che ni drup goyan dire pa tor goyan dire se langtur ke ani jigdo ta chincha malo pa ten yore ti mus tembi te ten yo adige teni ani ko karsuna pa pang goya su ya po pang ani chu drup goya su lap tini cheba ina kharchi de na chitum tabar chigres ti chitum tabar cheba ina ani chitum tawa sem Ranshika Srim Tawandi Simla Dongwa than Gyoba Mebakini, some Tamachagres, or Tinigan Chesongu, Tinibat Sona.
That's all. So let's continue. I'm just trying to find where we left it off in English. Give me 1 second because I've got it in Tibetan. Okay, I got it. So here in my text, it says, regarding the way in which scriptural collection of discipline, so this means the Vinaya basket, provides training in both ethics and meditative stabilization, it unerringly teaches the things to be adopted and discarded, engaged in and opposed, and thereby explicitly purifies ethics. So here it says first that when we practice the basket of Vinaya, the Vinaya basket, or the basket of ethics, we can also say that it teaches us what we have to practice and what we have to abandon, what we have to implement, and what we have to eliminate from our conduct. And this helps us to practice a pure ethics. And then it says, when ethics are purified in that way, mental pangs and regret for misdeeds disappear. And when those are absent, one attains physical lightness or pliancy. So when one practices pure ethical conduct, then a mind that is sad or regrets past negative actions disappears, and then one's mind becomes very, very light and therefore experiments pliancy.
Ola so, Dini Tirisha, or the Chitum Tani, Simla, and Dongwa and Juba Mebaina, Ani, Sim the Garasama, the Tawa Chagre, Dini Karchigis in the Tenas and a Lu Payamba, the Lu Elani Chigu, Kangit in the Mebu Payamba, Shindo. Jangba, the Xinjiang Tubs and Xinjiang, Lu Xinjiang, the same Xinjiang to the Xinjiang, the Dini Sungadua, Lim Xinjiang, the same Xinjiang, love the idea, don't the carry on the Lu lesser one, same lesser one cigarette. Ani Lu in a carriage chesa when a Kale many che tuya jitan, Tini Yonata, little Madea Kunimengage, Tini on the late Jamba Tomori, same in a chipare, similar, only carrot cheche chokerich. Pena shene dini gum tingi dini gum bikap tu la pe sim tsak chik chene de sha kwana pa katsu de sha kwana kange chia mene de thum ge ani chi changwa da goba dini go ani kyo ma chia chene pa katsu go go de thu ya ge dini yung go dini chi de sim jangba tu ngore wa dini chi di le gar se di chung go do song go aha Lujangba, any Shindy Jamba Tobla, the Tomnaga Delatini, Simji Gade Togures, Lujamba Tobalatini, Simla Gade Togures, or Gawata Deva, or Pershin. TNT Sim Seshiba never give Simla Gade, the Tobo Yoba Yanani, Sim Seshi the never Jurgures, Sonza, Tene any do Deno Chutumji Garsina, Chutumji Labatam, thinking the Gilapani to Tindi Dovichires or Tisonshata.
So here it says that by knowing what to practice and what to abandon, then this purifies our ethical conduct. And by purifying our ethical conduct, it says our mental pain, our mental suffering, and our regret disappears. And when those disappear, then our body and mind experiment what it's called physical and mental pliancy. So pliancy is of two types. We have physical pliancy and we have mental pliancy. And when we say pliancy means serviceable. So serviceable means serviceable of service, means that the body, for example, when the body becomes serviceable, it means that the body can engage in any sort of activity that you ask your body to do without any effort, without any discomfort. And similarly, when we mental pliancy, meaning we make the mind serviceable, it means that we're able to focus our mind on whichever object we like for however much time we want without any effort and without any discomfort. So this means physical and mental pliancy. So it says that consequently, mental joy and bliss increase through the power of which the mind comes to abide one-pointedly. So thanks to that physical and mental pliancy, we experience physical and mental bliss. And thanks to that physical and mental bliss, we're able to abide single-pointedly concentrated on any object. Thereby, continues, both ethics and meditative stabilization are established through the scriptural collection of discipline, or the Vinaya basket. Geshe langan zo kogi mindu.
There is a deno sumba. Tanda ngombi deno ga ani shirab jilaba drup se talaba shirab jilaba se de drupsur de kare rese na odi kol resha ti kare sigdu se na di is di ngombi deno ti chu namji tsinyin se chu namji tsinyin se ade chu namgu tsinyin de kasanga ma kanglak chi soya ga rangi tsinyin da ki tsinyin se tsinyin de la tindi sungu du tene yang ji tanda tsinyin bag na lu shena sur yang tumo ma yimbi tsinyin de she yore tindi yang yore ota di gam tsinyin so lepar cheni lepar pa cheba cheni tela pebo yore de ngombi deno na le ki yo tang ti gin tu ani tela tu tupa chebi ini chu namji tsinyin mano ore rikbi shirab chebar chebi ani lapa shirab ji lapa dhubar che chen ngosum tobar cheba yin sonsha che zanga ngombi deno na le tindi ga ani chu namji tsinyin mano wa te yonde ti ani chu namji tsinyin kare ne tandu kare ina ti rikbar chebi shirab chebar chebi goni oni lapa shirab lapa tiga tele yani yado gomba tiri cheba ina ni ngosum da tobar cheba ngosum da ani karsan ngosum di shibi shirab tobar chigires o tini chini tobar chigires sonsha.
Then it says, regarding the way in which the training in wisdom is established through the scriptural collection of knowledge, so the basket of Abhidharma, because that scriptural collection clearly delineates and differentiates the characteristics of phenomena. And if you remember, when it says here characteristics of phenomena, it refers to these specific characteristics and general characteristics, which we mentioned in a previous class. So it clearly delineates and differentiates the characteristics of phenomena. The wisdom that unerringly knows the characteristics of phenomena is produced by listening to the scriptural collection of knowledge, the basket of Abhidharma. Through that, the training in higher wisdom is established and manifestly attained. So here it says that through the listening, through the contemplation, and through the meditation of the teachings which are contained in the Abhidharma basket, or the collection of knowledge as is translated here, then we'll be able to thoroughly differentiate and discern among phenomena, among the characteristics of different phenomena, and therefore be able to understand each phenomena. So this is how our wisdom is developed.
All so tene takate jumsen gu yoringana jumsen gu nani jumsen tamasum diresha jumsen tamasum diga kandi sateng du syong de tanda deno sungana gun dodi deno du chudan tuen shebi chid pa shia gi chen de shija gi chidam dodi deno dang chudan tuen ya dubya gi chani dubya nyamle ji dubya gi chani ani duwa dowa dang ani chudan tuen gun pan rewa ten la bebe gi cheber chi ani rewa ten la kiber chebi chada kari china ngombi deno 어떤 전에 대노선 그냥 대노선도 뒤쪽에 름바치 시기도스
And then the three final reasons, remember that there were 9 reasons why we condense all of the teachings within these 3 baskets. And these are the 3 scripture, so the 3 baskets and the 3 objects to be known. So the 3 final reasons for positing 3 scriptural collections are that the sets of discourses are for the purpose of expounding the doctrines and the meanings, meaning the sets of discourses means the sutra basket. So the teachings of the sutra basket are for the purpose of expounding the doctrines, meaning Buddhist teachings, and the meaning of the Buddhist teachings. Then discipline is posited from the viewpoint of establishing doctrines and their meanings in practice. So discipline means the teachings within the Vinaya basket, the ethics basket, let's say. And this is these teachings help us to put into practice the teachings and the meanings of the teachings. And then the manifest knowledge, so the Abhidharma, the teachings within the Abhidharma basket, is for the purpose of becoming skilled in discourse that relates doctrines and their meanings.
so tini tanda ti nyam dodi deno ga minda tu ba shetsu ro de kare re so shetsu de min chi yiki ga sa de chu da tuen ge ani pa ani shebar che ba sa chu da tuen shi chu di na ri ka ru du se de min da chi da yiki do so che ani di je cha 다 민다 치다 이게서 파 저버집에 다 조체인데다 디그 조차 아니 폼보다 감다 김치 가당아도 이게는 폼보 왕가당 아니 감니 주다 김치 주인이 되는 손대하고 감조게다 손대하고 어떠서 된지 소 된당 야나 메다기 주다 된세야 디가 야나 폼감 김치 라소비 추에세 추르샤니 된세야 디야 텔 로카지 가르게 두스나 공 대금 제기 twins 공 대공 세야 돼 상기가 추 송럽 거나라 디양 아주 장등근도 당이등근도 세야가 송하는데 장등근도라 대공 대공 세야가 송출 먼저와니 송고요래 간이스나 상기 추 탐지 마 송책 송 탐지 자치신 받던다 따가랑 갑투 송바나지 켈레나 안디야다 먼저와니 송요래 되는 거 장등근도 나라 공 대공 twins 세야 주로티 shebachi tuendang yana karezinam turi toparchibi lam mane gyewa chudu chueres chikche ani tuen seyate ngilek ki yodin toparchibi lam da ngilek si tamchin kemba tarba da tamchin kemba seya rodang adam turi seyate odiso toparchibi lam dila nani ngilek tarba toparchibi lam dila chanchuk sobdin chanchuk chusumchi sobdin 요래 되는 돈체네 티 기버 체비고니 측된라 종월 체성의 종월 체세의 측된라 바 장추버치 양이 양의 측된지리 꼼소나 될라 배 장추버치니 강에 매고 토는 가서 배디 장샤세 줘라 배 장마찬 어 딘디 체그레스
Then the way in which the sets of discourses so expound the doctrines, so it means this was one of the things explained above, that the teachings, the purpose for the teachings in the sutra basket is in order to expound the doctrine. Doctrines here means Buddhist teachings, right? To expound Buddhist teachings and meanings is that they extensively explain the doctrine. So how do they explain the doctrines? How do they explain Buddhist teachings? Well, through letters, through words, and it said stems. I don't know what here stems mean. So it basically is through words and through letters. So this is the way in which the teachings in the sutra basket expound the teachings. And then how do they expound the meaning? Through talking about the aggregates, the constituents, the sources, etc., which we saw in previous classes that are expressed by the letters and the words. Or they explain doctrines such as the aggregates, constituents, etc., and meanings, the four thoughts behind them, and the four intentions. Or they explain the doctrines of the 10 virtuous paths described in the next chapter that brings about the attainment of the high status. High status means higher rebirths within cycling existence, and the meaning of the 37 harmonies with enlightenment. It's sometimes translated as the 37 factors to enlightenment, the paths that bring about the attainment of the qualities of definite goodness, meaning liberation from cyclic existence and omniscience, so nirvana and enlightenment. So from that point of view, the sets of discourses train one in words and meaning.
아니 마상와 곰바세 아주 무두바 곰리 마상와 곰바 사지 탐지 기르 강와 곰바라서비 무두바 곰바라서 마상와 드니 곰바라서 템비 고니 디 가르치레 뉴몽 둘신 세샤 뉴몽 바만 둘치리 뉴몽 아니 도차체이나 아니 무두바 드니 곰바이나 가르치게 세는 도차 피그 마레시아고 드니 그 녀보 땡오나 디 가르치게 되세는 아니 뉴몽만 둘신 디 인투레제 드니 제발라 때니 가르무비 추다 된남 아니 시바 지그레 생하는 무비 때 pon가게 지그 출라서 보고 추지 랑다 신이게 추 랑다 긴 신이 라서 비기 추남기 어떤남 시바 당시 때 시바 담마 임바 귤랑 원도 귤비 고니 똑바리 귤비 나데 귤랑 원도 귤비 고니 똑세야데 원숨도 또야 귤랑 원도 귤비 고니 똑세 원숨도 똑바리 귤비 나 아니 추다 또 주버 지그레 어디서 원비 되는 게 아니 다 추다 또 주버 담랑 기버는 게 와요 손샤.
Then the way in which doctrines and meanings are established through scriptural collection of discipline. So how are the teachings and the meaning of those teachings established, meaning practiced, through the Vinaya basket? So the scriptural collection of discipline is the Vinaya basket. And how is that? Is that the afflictions are subdued through teaching the application of pure ethics. So the way in which the Vinaya basket helps us to establish the teachings and their meanings is through the practice of ethics, since ethics is what allow us to subdue the afflictions in our minds, as well as through teaching meditation on impure and so forth. Here, teaching meditation on impurity means that sometimes we meditate on the impurity of the body, for example, to counter-arrest the idea that our body is pure. So here is one of the things that it mentions. Thereby, the doctrines and meanings propounded earlier are understood and realized through becoming manifest in one's mental continuum. So not only do we practice ethics, but also the teachings as we start putting into practice these teachings, then we start integrating these teachings within our mental continuum. This is what it means becoming manifest in the mental continuum. As a result, doctrines, the teachings, and the meanings of those teachings are established through the scriptural collection of discipline. Through the scriptural collection, until there. So here it says that we come to understand the teachings better through their practice, and then we come to integrate these teachings through their practice in our own mental continuum. Yes.
So tene da ngumbi denu ki sonja ngumbi denu ko karchi de chudan tuen jevi tamlam kibar jirwa yin sonja chudan tuen chu se andire tuen tonda tere se da chuda tuen sha sa kan liang ani mada mo bo song so ben ming da yi zigla so ba chu ming che chue che di ge ani ba den sha ye pong kam jin ji la so ba tuen sha da yang na tu so me pong bo de kam da jin ji la so ba chue sha ni di tuen se di tanda ani gon de gon je ji gon ni chu song ti la so ba tu song bi tuen nam de tuen che yang min na to ga de thuri dang thuri to ba ge chi bi lam 아니 토리세나 tarbal데마다 다니 겨치만 토리세디 디레샤 덴루글람 토버치바 덴루 토버치비 람토소 겨치라서 바드 최당 디니 닐렉세디 tar바당 탐치 김바르제 티 토버치비 애니 람 장추소 데라서 바데 뚠레샤니 토소 파 추당 뚠그 제바 판 제바가 아니 소 가시 시바다 데 땀랑 케바리 안교와 예세 문비되는 거 데리지 템바 예송샤.
Then it says that through the scriptural collection of manifest knowledge, so the basket of Abhidharma, one becomes skilled in discourse relating doctrines, so the teachings and their meanings. So it means that one becomes skilled in explaining these teachings, like, for example, all of the teachings that were mentioned before, both all of the paths that get us from a state of suffering to a state of happiness, whether it's temporary happiness to ultimate happiness, such as the happiness of a higher rebirth, or the happiness or the well-being of nirvana, liberation from cyclic existence, or the happiness and well-being of omniscience. Therefore, here through the teachings of the Abhidharma basket, then one becomes skilled in all of the teachings and is able to explain them to others.
So that the interview Jimson Guyugoni, Kabasumji Yamlin, Tabshiki, and Netumbi Jay sort of Tamchit, Denosun to Divayan Sunday. Or that Tinda was the Takikon of Sonshai, Tinda with Jimson Guyugoni, the Jimson Mada, good Dindi Jimson de Cheve, Chene, and it Tabasumji Yamlin. Tabasumji Yamlin is a Tabasum de Nintuda, Rangertan, Tabachimbo, Janjugu Samba, Tabachimbo Sego. 어디선들이 뛰었음 그 냠len 아니 냠len의 가리 열잖아 탑시 탑지 차다 시럽게 차 탑시 요 안에 어떤 배에서 탑시가 안에 어떤 그 잡이 송럽 그 탐치 송럽 간이를 지나 때 맞도야 그 안에 어떤 배 송럽 간이를 지나요 아니 데노숨 도디 데노 두이 데노 아니 원비 데노숨 그 나만 디바요 마티숨 나 디바인스 어디는 손샤.
So then it says all of the pronouncements, so all of Buddha's teachings of the conqueror that teach the essentials of method and wisdom in the practice of the three vehicles, which are here, the vehicle of the hearers, the hearer vehicle, the vehicle of the solitary realizers, and the vehicle of the bodhisattvas, are included in the three scriptural collections by way of these 9 reasons. So therefore, the 9 reasons that we've explored together are the reasons why all of Buddha's teachings are condensed within these 3 baskets. And through them, it guides all of the practitioners, where there is a hearer, a solitary realizer, and a bodhisattva, through their own paths, through the practice of both method and wisdom. Geshe langan zo gogi mindu.
어나서 데노숨지 조자 남지 딱이 데노숨 두디 데노다 두이 데노다 몸비 데노숨 그 조자 탐치 출 뒤나스 고초가 고초바 조치 도숨된 도시원 상지 송들이 이 송디 가르송 그 두시야 강송야 디 조자들이 어디 강송이 조자 탐치 에네 같이 두바이나 가슴 두르세나 아니 라바 추름지 라바당 띵인지 라바당 시럽 클라박숨기 냠린 우스 우지 냠레스디 코랑 당하랑 아니 라비아당 야나 코랑 우스 말레나 그 차시가 야나 지릭바나를 두그레 야나 코랑 우나 두그레 야나 그 야라 차시 지릭바나를 두그레 어디 손샤.
Then it says, when all topics of the 3 scriptural collections of the 3 baskets themselves are included into broad categories, they are included either directly or in an ancillary manner in the practice of the 3 trainings. In the training in special ethics, special mean higher, the training of higher, the higher training, actually it should be the higher training of ethics, the high training in meditative stabilization or concentration, and the higher training in wisdom.
어나서 어디니 단다 단다 라바숨 세온디 tisola labi churumji labadang, ani labi churumji tinginzi labada, labi sherumji labadi, laba siyaga, o tiga tonda kandisire, kandis lagare siyaga, o tisongudu, ti karindu se du, tambo laba de labi, o churumji laba siya diga kawala laba lasu de karire se du, deyang sangi jo sombi se, churumji kari chigire se na, ongu tang gyu, ongu se ina re, ti gyu ne ina, ongu tang gyu ni ne, ane rangshin tamche la, tambar gyurwa yin zang, ani tili shambali lakpa re se, lakji yin se. Tamban dili se di, tomba sanji shaya tibi tamban dili shambi mutikba, shin mutikba, churum mutikba la so biga, giga churum gati nangla kari yore se na menga temba, 아니 제스처바 맹아 템바스 용다 아니 디 가스나 마양은 총발라서 보기 딘디 처럼 좀 뭐다 딘디 코트 두비야요 또서 카탑지야 그때다 디다 아니 처럼지 딘디 처럼 나무다 기비고니 가르치기에서는 셴라 라신 참발라 아니 동월교회 강에 동화 심라 동화다 아니 강에 저기 요tam 멤버리스 송다도 소리다기디 아니 남비디 송대가 처럼들 합비처럼 레데 대신도 되니다 아샴바니라 요래 저디다 치름기라바 라투드 딘디 송샤.
So here it said before that Buddhist teachings can be divided into these three baskets, right? Sutra, Abhidharma, and Vinaya. And that respectively, these have three main topics, which is the higher training of ethics, the higher training of concentration, and the higher training of wisdom. And then here we say we're not saying the training of ethics, we're saying the higher training of ethics, the higher training of concentration. So why higher? The text translates it as special. So we'll just keep this word. It says, ethics set forth by the Buddha are special because they directly and indirectly benefit everyone, both oneself and others. Austerities and ethics taught in other systems of doctrines, such as using the 5 fires to bake oneself to death, or such as those of non-Buddhist orders, are inferior because they directly or indirectly bring misery to oneself and others. So this is the reason why here the higher training of ethics is called higher, because it brings well-being towards oneself and it brings well-being towards others, especially when compared to other types of disciplines or ethics which are practiced in other spiritual paths. And then it says, similarly, the meditative stabilization set forth by the Buddha are special by serving. Sorry, I read too much, so we're not reading as much. But here Geshe was saying that just as higher training is attached to ethics, higher is also attached to concentration and to wisdom.
so tinanshing 대신 다 상계지 송비 띵인진나 띵인진지 라바디야 라비 띵인진지 라바시 들 하바시야 데 가르잖아 단다 남비 송샤 그 띵인진데 뉴몽바당 아니 남토케 뉴몽바당 남토케 님부르 또sol라 님부지네 파칸 카텐자네 님부지 두고요라 님부 드위나 님부 드위 가요 통출라 되와 통출라 대화 참도 마세세 통출라 대화 참세야디 가르치고리지 통이 추세야디 단단 원순도 내디야가 체 단다랑 단다게 네 땅게 띠랑라 데보 내와 데보 용야 추체바 있나 아니 셈그 뇨모바 마샤 차도나 아니 대가랑게 아니 센델라 데보 다키부 용아 대참직 마세 대참그 책이 요 말에 가르레시디 체로 현다와 아니 데버치기 요탐 아니 단다 띵인징 달라바들 하바레시 어떤 소샤
Then the text continues, similarly, the meditative stabilization set forth by the Buddha are special because by serving as antidotes to afflictions and misconceptions, they bring happiness not only in this lifetime, but also in other lifetimes, as well as the happiness of liberation. The meditative stabilization of non-Buddhists are inferior because they are incapable of doing anything other than providing happiness in this lifetime by turning the mind away from external distraction. They do nothing better than cause birth as a god in the form and the formless realm. They do not serve as antidotes to afflictions and misconception. So this is the reason why the higher training of concentration is called higher in regards to concentration practiced in other spiritual paths, because here it says that it serves as an antidote to both afflictions and misconceptions, and therefore the result that one experiences is happiness in this lifetime, but also happiness in future lifetimes, as well as liberation from cyclic existence.
올라서 대마제 단들 학주로 치라셔 디간 아니 단다 첸데 저 제로 젠다 되어치바 마세 단다 타르비 되와 토버 치기요상 아니 학바레세 학주데 타타 타투버 지온데 학바 학주데 인세 아니 치료 봐서지 띵인 진네데 다 치료 봐라서비 띵인 진 송지 중간아래 띵인 라서 공다지로 송샤요리 요리데 이나디 디가 아니 구바다 텔라 지금 뉴반도다 펜바드 가리 요리 tion디 심처로라 인와 띵인지 고미오비 또 심처로라 인데 심처치데 나라 네바 심냐 디디 용기 요레데 처로라 인와데 도니 안에 도바다한데 엔 토이줄라 데와니 바데 디디게 심 많이 가사칼레 주야데 바 아니 마타 아치니 심 나라 쩨치다 네비 톱지 아니 남토즈 시리 마모 메바 차니 아니 가르세나 통위추 젠데 단다라라 갑둘라 아니 데오나 네바 딘디 그 용거 요레시 아니 드리브 치담 상양데 가조 지금 딱고 마음바티 띵인진도 곰니 펜토 침부 가제도 용나양 드리브 치담 상나양 아니 가토다 주다 주메세 감숨시양도 주다 주메가 아니 하이네스 케버 제바 제니바 참레 아니 따til레 셴미뇨모다 남토고 니모도 두고 말레세 대참지 마토 두고 메상 아니 고 멤버레스 어딘데 소샤
In this paragraph, it mentioned that the higher training of concentration not only helps us to achieve happiness of this life and also in future lives, but also of liberation. So this is important. It helps us achieve the happiness or the well-being of liberation of cyclic existence. And contrary to that, the concentration practiced in other traditions, which are not Buddhist traditions, they only provide happiness of this life. How? By helping us to maintain a non-distracted mind, so a concentrated mind that does not wander constantly to the external world, but is able to stay within. And even though this produces positive results, such as higher rebirths and rebirths in the form and formless realms, it doesn't have the ability to serve as an antidote to the afflictions and the misconceptions. Therefore, we will continue to abide within cyclic existence if we just practice concentration, but we do not practice the higher training of concentration.
김천 대달라 때니 상기 조선비 처럼다 띵인진 시름 너션리 라버기와 예소시 알레단디 버루 시럽 글라발 하수도 치송하다레 아니 시럽 글라발 하수도 가르레 송디 추르바소 기셰비 시럽나 아니 아닐링 통비 고니 쿠이 타워 쭈버 쭈 미니 비만 바테 송샤 딱투디 시럽 하데 시럽데 가르스퉁스퉁도 잖아 단다디 다메 토비 시럽 다음에 바통바니 된 토비 시럽 단다 상기 춤된디 소럽 가나레 마틴 샤기 라바 시럽 기 라바제도 수테 텐샤우리 디가 가르치 투그레라나 추 가르카리나 디가 내루 탁투바 토비 고네 아니 맞아 심chen 코아 레진 코안 코라가 거기 싸워 거기 싸워 때문에 댄스 머리빠 디가 녀보체네 디 싸워 주니 그래시 얘나양 단다 치료받도 쇼네 송샤야가 시럽도 소가 딘디 체니기요 말이 송다 딘디 때네 멤버레스
So following the higher training of concentration comes the higher training of wisdom. And the wisdom explained in the Buddha's teachings is special because it is able, either directly or indirectly, to clear away all obstructions, the conceptions of the two selves, the self of person and the self of phenomena. The wisdom explained, however, by non-Buddhists is inferior because it is incapable of severing the root of cyclic existence through seeing the mode of subsistence of phenomena. Therefore, here we see that the training of wisdom within the Buddhist path, it's called the higher training of wisdom because it helps us clear away all obstructions, meaning the afflictive obscurations and the cognitive obscurations, and how specifically through the wisdom that understands the lack of inherent existence of the person and lack of inherent existence of phenomena. So these are the two conceptions of the selves, the two conceptions of the self, meaning the grasping to an inherent existence of the person and inherent existence of phenomena. However, the wisdom within non-Buddhist paths is not, since they do not teach emptiness, they're not able to cut away at the root of cyclic existence. So this is why wisdom in Buddhism is called the higher training of wisdom.
그래서 김세 대달라 때니 상기지 손비 트름다 딩인진다 시람네 젠리 학바 임비 아니 학비 라박숨 지스르와 인스 샤와체도 다다기 강로 손데야 그래 김세 뜻은 레레레레라 아니 김세 마다마다 디노 손서 김세 뜻을 때니 아니 상기기 종나로 손샤지 트름다 데나지 딩인진다 시람네 젠리 학바 임비 딩 학비 라박숨 시그레스.
So for these reasons, it says, the ethics, meditative stabilization, and wisdom set forth by the Buddha are superiors to others. Hence, they are called the three special or the three higher trainings.
dindirja ta dini ti koni tanda ta nambi sangi sonam tamche ma deno sum dana dugu yoba ta ani deno sum zedi kare jocha chigi yore sena ani dodi deno ge tingi jin laba tingi jing laba jocha chigi yoba ta ani dui deno sena laba chrum gi laba chrum o laba deni karsena jocha chigi yoba ta ani ngombi deno lana ngombi deno diga ani laba sherb ga laba jocha chigi yoba ta 또 숨볼이야 아니 다 되는 숨가 콩스 만두기가 상기가 송 제스르시도 나서비 가르가르는 송샤요나야 어디 숨가나 만두바 메비 김센데 간스나 아니 라버숨 되게 라버숨디 영우이나다 야나이 코로가 차시이나 가나주 맞든 밤마기 맞든 비 따가서 송샤게 상기 송라 메송다 상기 송라 탐치 아니 어떤다 어디 숨가나 뒤에 김센데 되게 제고 김센데 야사 가는 김세 숨숨 김세 구이고니 어디니 가는 지네 손이 상기 손을 탐치 아니 되는 순간은 어디 손바레스.
So in this chapter, we've seen how all of Buddha's teachings are condensed within these three baskets. These three baskets are the Vinaya basket, the Sutra basket, and the Abhidharma basket, and how each of the teachings condensed in each of these baskets have specific topics of practice, in fact. And these topics are the following. The Vinaya basket's topic is the higher training of ethics. The Sutra basket topic is the higher training of concentration, and the Abhidharma basket's topic is the higher training of wisdom. And therefore, all of Buddha's teaching, there is not a single teaching that the Buddha gave that is not condensed within or included within these three baskets. And they are categorized in this way within these three baskets, following the 9 reasons which were given within these chapter 9 reasons that, if you remember, were divided into 333.
so dindirisha dinita sangiga sonrago jocha kidang ani ma tingodi zamba number sangibe dagi tyaba sumgi yoden se de tyaba sum se an nintu da range da tyaba chimbu chanchu ki semba to tyaba da ani dindi ya so duan de cheba yana tyaba chechon ni se sonde and da dindiga da sangiga sonram ni ma ani durcha to ya tharba da thamchi chimbi lamla ya thor chebi ga thap ga lamla 아니 심체 라랑기 아니 지금 무바당 아니 지금 삼바다 무바당 소소의 지금 어딘지를 뜨네 아니 카실라 태바 친구 초송바당 카실라 태바 만바송 초송바 양 카실라 태바 정보 초송바 어딘은 송다 나서바지네 송샤요레스.
When Buddha Shakyamuni gave teachings, these teachings were divided into either the three vehicles being the vehicle of the hearers, the vehicle of the solitary realizers, and the vehicles of the bodhisattvas. These can be further condensed into two, which is the Mahayana vehicle and the Hinayana vehicle. And all of the teachings were given specifically for specific disciples to be in accordance with their mental capacity, with their predisposition, with their inclinations, with their interests. Basically, the teachings were given in accordance with their mental predisposition, with their psychological predisposition, in order to guide them towards liberation and towards enlightenment. But for some, it was more beneficial to give teachings of the Mahayana vehicle. For some, it was more beneficial to give teachings of the Hinayana vehicle, and some, if it was more beneficial to give teachings of the middling vehicle, meaning the solitary realizer's vehicle. Geshe langan tsoko wimidu.
알았어. 다디나로 손대야가 태바 침보다 태바 충을대야다 태면 받아 대신 받아야 다니 따대야가 태바 지충 세니 손야가 아니 디 태바 지충 그 된다다 아니 지금 디 손대야 지충 그 제로 지당로디야 아니 삼로 개치충 삼로 개치충 그거니 샤샤야 마도 드니야 디 샴바 지금 아니 메디 지금 벤조다 그 체냐다 심보레서 어디니 침보더니 가야 말이지 가리서는 삼로 때다 가지 자침보 야고 땅 퉁기 지나 아니 태바 침보 우틀레샤야 땅 삼로 때 삼지 주 아니 템텔 마토게 때 삼멤바 이네 텔 템멤바시 자위 아니 택침바다 템멤바 니스 콘스비니 어디자라 마추 텐디 삼발로 딘디 니스 고니 템바레스.
When here we say that the teachings were condensed into the two vehicles, the higher, the great vehicle, meaning the Mahayana, and the smaller vehicle of the inferior vehicle, meaning the Hinayana, this differentiation is produced in terms of the extent to which they can expand their own minds. So some of them can really expand their minds, and some of them, those of the great vehicle, have a greater capacity to expand their minds, and those of the Hinayana vehicle, they have a lesser capacity to expand their minds. So the differentiations of the great vehicle and the big vehicle and the small vehicle is done in relation to that, and not in relation to some being more important than others, or those of the Mahayana vehicle being better than those of the Hinayana vehicle. The differentiation is not in relation to that.
알았어. tinti가 단다 태바 지충 니기나니 또 태면시아디 태면 받을 아니 니도다 라게 니어데 니가 수디 가르시디 라니 치고 등와 타달이 트네 야 타르비 되어 토비야 또 디체데 베스체마도 아니 젠도로 또 셈바치니 누구요 말레스 태바 침부 장주 셈바디 태바 침부 또 셈바디 자침부 가리스다 요레라나 아니 라니 그 타르바토에 또 제바 많이 받지 셈체 셈체 탐지 등월에 줘야 이 체드 깔려야던 베스트 제바 가두이니 나바 탐지 때 지기 요단 때라 아니 태바 침부지 어다 도도 된다고 니리 샤스 두나.
And when we say that the differentiation of the Hinayana and the Mahayana vehicle, or the great vehicle and the small vehicle, is done in relation to the extent to which they can expand their minds, it means in regards to the motivation. Because, for example, the practitioners of the Hinayana vehicle has, by the way, another subdivision, which is the vehicle of the hearers and the vehicles of the solitary realizers. So both of them are within the Hinayana vehicle, and they only practice to liberate themselves from suffering. They do not try to liberate others from suffering. They just focus on their own liberation. That's why the extent to which they can expand their minds is lesser, because they only expand it to go towards their own individual liberation. Whereas the practitioners of the Mahayana vehicle, they do not focus on self-liberation. They focus on liberating all sentient beings of their suffering. So in that regards, the minds of those practitioners are developed in a greater extent, and that's why it's the great vehicle, or the Mahayana vehicle.
알았어. 다든지 지레샤. 드네다 di denosum gerlap ka joja labosum di tan di sani dioni ma panam chini ani patesi jebu chini chirum glabala na kare kare re ani tingin glabala na kare kare re sharab glabala na kare kare re sini te re loka loka ani jebu chini won ma tanda jam kongsa chok song sha dini sani dini ma panam chini dra yins ani ta tiring de kama chuni ma dham du tri tuwa tene yona ti kan tuwa tene na ro chis.
Yes, sir. So in the following chapters, we're going to go through each individual basket and learn about each individual basket. And now that we've seen an overview of the three baskets and how the teachings are condensed within the three baskets, now we have like 12 minutes left. So if you'd like to ask any questions in regards to this class or any other class, any other subject you would like to ask a question.
Hey,
Hey, Rika.
I have a question that is like a bit related to this. It's about the ethical conduct, so the ethical basket, and about if it was updated, because there's like ethical questions nowadays that didn't exist at the time of Buddha. For example, when we think about AI or when we think about things like euthanasia and stuff like this, is there like actually an update of it? Do they still think the old rules? Like, how do we apply these old rules to this new technology things?
Lasso. That Chiwa did it. Dana do it then Yoruba. Do it then
No.
dan su chim dan domba dan chim mambo dinanola do de Yoruba. Yinaya dana düzü dan chizo dan tseri tsama yargi jogi yöçan dan gyur jogi yöçan. Do it then chizo gürgi jowa nanshi yang gürgi da kiranzo gürgi yörebe sochu kyabgi yörebe yamena ranja de yörebe kain sena tensa pena ane tsenri yarge drone nga zu da lole denzu mi nanshi da kiranzo artificial intelligence kishila kin sarebe riba zuma di kishila ko sarebe riba zuma di kishila king yöbe
tindi su konyo ya shewa ho chi mi da.
그래서 다 리바 좀한테 가르세기 람나 아니 로글레 덴서 단다 리바 미난신 리바 좀아 다 미난시 야메나 밀레 야가 리바 좀아치 예레 아니 덴사 아니 츠바디 콜라 츠바 맘보 예레 카인세나 디 마옴발라 밀라 펭기 예나 야메나 뇌기 예나 디기 츠바 예레 아니 디단 제웨 주짐 기 츠바 맘보 예레 아니야 베나 미카시 댄사 눕초라 미카시기 삽첸보 나바이나 아니 콘소스스스 야메나 멘칸기 콘솔라 세 랑시기아야 기 톱단 자워치 랑시기아야 기 톱단 디 야보요마레기 세바 요르바 댄사 아니 디 수진단 제와 요르바 Eza tanda duwe dina di ranja degi yorebe yamena kiranzo duzu jebo kyabkin kyangi yang duwe dina di jebo kyabki yobe.
Tuwa pe yabudu, chidang hale tuwa yabudu. Di chidang sanji chumden di dui cho song di durwa yurdi dang tunni songba se yurdi dang tunni yurda tui tunni ane ko chok mo chokwa namsha che guya pe ke chenpo shivu chok song yore. Yore de ina yang tanda nga tsu gelong riji drubu, gesun riji drubu na yang su su la domba songa yudi tina la ani yang pena migu sochi chogo mare lani, mise chogo mare lani she shayo na ani ta ani ko su su dagi la na shire shuk chenpo shiwan na ni kange shiwan tre tini na ani chigi men dindi thongni rangshi gyab shana tab dewa shindu gure se dindi jena ani rangshi gyab na dindi chogo re se dindi gywa chenpo taso gywa tanda dro gore se na tis kakbo yore es te mayi ba cheni ndowa chidang yurdi dang tunni 아니 고 산지 좀 되게 요르탄 피 가르네 라 틴디 뚜니 아니 샤고레제 송샤요레 테페 그 운도와 코로나 산지 좀 이제 트럼프나니 송샤요레 어딘자 뜻을 잡을때 뜻은 로그레스 와도야 짜와 기다니 자드시 좀 말지 남비 츠점레 아니야 단기 갈갈이 조던이 이제 주마 자드시 총게 자그레베스나 안디다 자그 말했어.
So this is a very good question. In general, Buddha Shakyamuni said that in the Vinaya, so in the basket in the Vinaya basket, that it was very important to, like, our behavior should be modified in relation to the times and the place. So taking into consideration the times and the place where you're acting is very, very important. So always we have to act in relation to the times we're living and the place we're living in. So it's very, in that sense, it's flexible and contextual. However, it is true that, for example, there are certain vows. The Gelongs have certain vows, the Getsuls have certain vows, and these vows remain the same. So one of the main root vows, for example, is not to kill. So in relation to euthanasia, for example, since one of the vows is not to kill, it would be, we wouldn't be able to accept or assist someone like committing self-suicide, but go through a process of euthanasia, since we have this vow. So in a way, there are some things that do not change. So we cannot change the vows, they remain as they are, and we behave in accordance to those vows. However, it is true that in other sense, if it does not break the vows, then we can modify certain types of behavior depending on time and place.
What I find interesting in this question is, like, for example, the example he just brought with the killing. I have the feeling there's like gray zones nowadays, because we also on a medical level keep people alive that would die otherwise. Like, for example, my grandma was in a coma, she was dead and she was revived, but then she was kind of she was like not there anymore. And then there was this discussion if she's allowed to die or if she has to be kept alive. So there's like this kind of questions, because in a natural setting, she would have died.
아니 주시디 콜라 십주체야 케첸보레스 카인세나 덴사 아니 네주 사바 마무충이 두스 페나 ngarangi mola korangi temba pet torchara ane koran shivananshi chadeyore yinaya mengangi tande konzo men dan kap dan ta konzo tab mindawa di chene 아니 몰라기 수보 란자데요레 있는 거는 지나 콘 시원 다 로난신 차차래 이나야 수보 란자데기요레 손보다보 데기요레 제가 나마이나 멘덴데 메베 갑라 다 멘체 메베 갑라 나랑기 몰라 나마네 시차래 이나야 단다 멘체 예베 갑라 콘조 아니 탑 줌마기 토네 아니 몰라 다 몰라 sombo 데야 탑시 체요레 이나야 오네 지나 몰라 펜도틱 하게 중요 말에 제자 디 값수 배체 코 시샤 다 시드로바 이나 배치 야가 말에베
라서 다니 초치니 가서 신조자데 가서 갑도 그 지금 나야다 차야다 식침벌레원데 당아 신나 가사리에 삼는 수속 삼로 단초거니 어디 가르 담니 띠간데 아니 디체니 따티 다초체니 아니 수수 시주자한테 그라시 장로 띠니 체샤나 가사리에 안로다 다땡이라나 시리야 지금 그 메주가 띠니 담리 띠니 아니 내갑지 마시어지니 띠니 지 탑시 연나 디체나 랭가마니 바 시주나 가그 마레세아체나 땡땡 아니 마시나 가 요사레스 민돈도 민드지나 민드지나 단다 아니 마시여 내갑과 시소나 아니 둥알 가리 용에다 그다나 강에 가리 용고 요바다 대초 가서 셰바 있는 배식 전부 시부지 요바다 딘디식 요디다 바 마신이 까마시 깔차 찍네 두나야 야가 요반도 딘디 송사에 종 딘디니 요레스 이나 야 따티 자체 자몽 바티 시선 깔깔레제 랍투야 요마레스
Ela konda danda nye sebugo tsumason. Ta kamakashe tombo de tuna gasare di shunanola yore di korla sebugo tsumason.
마신이 단단 것도 미리 리스야 주라 밀리 마시 공개 아니 대학 아니 대보다 기부 요하다 대기당 디다 시송아 네컵제바 이나 마신이 까마치 네투나 야 요레스 딘디 송바 요레스
So this is also an interesting situation because it's very different from a situation where one is going through a very difficult time and one is really in pain, whether it is mental pain or whether it's physical pain. And then some people, when they go through that situation, they have thoughts of ending their lives because they cannot bear their suffering. And here in the case of your grandmother being she's made to be alive through technology and through machinery and through different kinds of things. However, it is said that normally sentient beings, since what they value most is their life, that when they are alive, they normally would always prefer to remain, they would always prefer to remain alive, even if it's for one more instant, than to die and pass to next life. So in that way, maybe it is better to preserve their life than to not preserve their life, but it's a difficult topic. And I think I cannot say more than that at the moment.
Kela, ngati wachik and my question is, normally for the Buddhist practitioner, after they are pronounced by the doctor, they are brain dead, the body usually remain untouched for 8 hours to 1 day. But in my case, I have donated all my organs for after before I once pronounced dead. So is in Buddhist point of view, my consciousness would be still there, but because I need to donate all the organs, it has to be immediate. What is Geshe-la's view on this? Thank you.
Thank you, Pari. Lasso, Geshe-la, do you ane susu da amchi denzo leba shisa son lamna yan da dun ngaranzu gi sheba subo nanola da dun ha de yusara. Hina ya ngarang la ane ngarangi karisa subo nanola ki ning dang kokpa dang lowa dang zeto tsama nga tsama ane jimba dang tsanyi lamna ane mengan la kera ma shingyo la tende chaya yore ra gishi la shingyo sara tende chaya yore susu ma shingyo la ane mengan la keran tende lamna o nga shi tsane nga rangi leba da nga rangi lowa da nga rangi nying denzo tsama ane mishen la jero chis laya ki damka yora ina ya amchi ki tende chaya la ta ngarangi nying tan denso tsama mission la jaya la ta shibadaga nga shibadaga ani denso tsama kone ani lamsa mission la jegore chenza te kapsu peche ngarangi shibada dung supo nanola ha deyora ani konzo ki nying tan denso tsama pa ta piba yina ani mission la jeba yina nga lamsa ta sheba lamsa ta saja shema joira dis kerangi samsu di korla kerangi samsu kare yu di yabo yo mare samsu kare yu
그래서 이 니 삼주지나 하장 삼로 약보래 기단 낭비 쉬어나리야 아니 소소를 류다 아니 손보 단당 아주 단단하이나 들이라이나야 아니 소소의 닝다 로아당 케마다 카리나 짐바 땅니 티체 투아이나 아니 땅 쳐야 아니 디나 요래 이나야 때 집 삼로다 딘디 쳔 통보지 말래 봐도 땅바 이나야 얘네 티가 너치 제발 샘바 마도 바루치니 삼로 로땅 못으니 pena lakpa chi che ni tegi ila na lakpa ngusi che wangdi tsamba kange ka wangi yang semke samlo tang mo thongni tindi kange yungo re tindi mato gyase gyase samlo thongni ti cheba ina tena dhige yo re se nge samla ti samgudus.
제장 파리 건다기 싫어. 제장 파리 아니 시바다가 코란기 수보기 차세 미션라 데나 키랑기 삼수 야보 요래 챙기 요베 이게랑 삼두레.
Te tuna tili samlo gane tu yona ti jimba ya sigore.
That's it. So Pari, this is considered as a very good practice within Buddhism, which is the generosity of practicing generosity with one's own body. In fact, there are practitioners that do not even wait until they die, but they practice generosity with one's own body, even able to cut one's hand or to give away one's own organs to others while alive. However, it is said that this is something that one should not do until one reaches a very high level while alive. But the fact that after death you're willing to donate all of your organs is something very virtuous. So it's something very good. I think it's something very good if you're able to completely give it, with an open mind and a happy mind, then this is something very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pari.
Laso 아니 추트 지다 까먹나스레 주고 드링테 샤샤므로 참말 트시데 참리요스.
So we're going to finish today here, class. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming today. And we'll meet again tomorrow at the same time.
Nam, Sunny Jayong.
See you tomorrow.
산이 지어 트시래.
다시 딜레 주든자고.